Welcome. Welcome to Touching the Edge. Thank you so much for joining. I'm so happy to be here with you today. I'm happy to be here with you because we're looking at ways to reframe our experience so that we can create an inner healing that makes a difference in our community. And I think there's a lot of different ways to approach this, and some of them I think are kind of intriguing, or at least humorous, or maybe even slightly. And so, one of those ways is kind of comparing them to things that we recognize in our lives and from popular culture. And one of those things, I remember there was this movie. I think it was called The Gremlins. Even when the movie came out, it was for a much younger audience than I was even at the time. But this movie came out in the 80s, and if my memory serves me, there was some kind of plot device where you had these incredibly cute creatures that were incredibly friendly and helpful and lovable. But if they got immersed in water, they would become gremlins, which were these hideous, cruel, little crazy creatures that were, doing all kinds of damage and even were murderous. And so it's interesting to me because I was that movie popped in my head, and it kind of was reminiscent to me about the relationship that we have with anxiety. Anxiety at a certain level is actually a really, really good servant to us. Anxiety is actually an inner disquiet when we're not really paying attention to what we feel like we need to be doing, when we're not really listening to our own selves, or not really being in kindness with ourselves. And so I want to suggest, though, that what happens with anxiety is that if we feed anxiety with nervous energy, all of a sudden this anxiety really begins to expand, and instead of it becoming a signal, it becomes the issue in and of itself. We end up becoming in an echo chamber with anxiety. We feel anxiety, and we feel an anxiety about feeling anxiety. It begins to reverberate and expand. And so I want to suggest to you that just like in this movie, if we treat anxiety, well, and don't feed it nervous energy, recognizing that nervous energy begins to expand this, and all of a sudden we end up being blocked by this sense of anxiety. Feel the relationship to nervous energy and do things to lower nervous energy. Get into your body. Start a walking practice. Do gentle yoga. Do some lifting. Activate a causal relationship with your body where you get in contact with the tactile experience of being in connection with the body. Cook. Feel the way the knife chops carrots or cuts onions. Really get into the presence of the body. This lowers nervous energy, and as a result, lowers anxiety. We don't have to know what the answers are. In fact, I want to encourage you to realize that you don't need to know the answers. What you are here to do is to shift and create a neutrality right now that allows you to get what you are meant to get from your emotions, turning the volume of the emotions down by getting really, really present. And then activating, moving towards a positivity. Remember, this anxiety, if we treat it well, if we manage it well, we can bring this anxiety back down to the point that it becomes effective and actually stops being an impediment. So learn to manage your anxiety. Learn to calm down that nervous energy, and learn to speak to yourself. Tell yourself things are going to work out. When you speak to yourself with confidence and interrupt the negative thought pattern that goes towards the anxiety, you'll find that you get in contact with something that is really, really, really cool. By learning to be neutral, we learn to be positive, because who we are when we're neutral is automatically positive. I'm going to ring the bell. I'm going to ask you to listen carefully. Here we go. When we learn to transform anxiety with gratitude, we change anxiety from a problem into a portal. So thank you so much for joining. Please let other people know about these videos. Be part of the healing circle, because when we are together, we're stronger than we are alone. Namaste, my friend. Thank you.